Hey, you're a business owner, aren't you? I can tell by that glint in your eye. I'm going to give you the most important bit of advice. You need to be yourself. Just be yourself. I mean, that's easier said than done, really, isn't it? Do you think the person who made this was just being themselves? I think in this episode, we're going to give you 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, at least 3 reasons why you must develop your personal brand. Otherwise, your business will fail. Harsh? Yeah? True? Don't believe us? Watch on and we'll prove it. Let's go. I'm Andrew Lords. This is the Business Amplify podcast. We remove the distortion from your marketing. I'm going to start a business and I'm really good at what I do. So all I really need is systems and stuff. I mean, no one actually cares about me, do they? I mean, what does my personality got to do with anything? Now, if I really believed that, how much trouble would I be in?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
What a surprise.
I meant to say that right there.
Oh, yeah. No, I only meant to say it if it's the truth.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So this whole thing, people get very obsessed about, well, we're just going to be the best, which you should be. Mm-hmm. We're going to do the best work, which you should do. What is there beyond that? I'm really just goading you here. This is just kind of go for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You poked the bear. Relatability. There you go.
Relatability. Okay, so in this episode, we're talking about 3 reasons your business will fail. It's a bit harsh. 3 reasons your business will fail without your personal brand.
Okay.
So let's dive in to reason number 1. I'm sneakily showing you the notes. Can you read that from
This
there?
makes me relatable because I can't remember what I said. Approachability.
There you go.
There you go. You want me to elaborate on that?
Oh, please do. Otherwise, the podcast will be really short.
So, you're building your personal brand online, or you're building your brand online, but you're using stock imagery. You're using pictures of your product. You are faceless. Now, you're going to get far to an extent, but if you put your human personality behind it online, you're going to get people that are genuinely interested in your story.
This is scary because I don't think I'm perfect. I see all these people on social media, less on LinkedIn to be honest, but I always look at them and go, wow, they've really got their stuff together. I haven't.
Well, I actually think there's power in showing your vulnerability, to be honest.
Okay.
Because being perfect is not relatable at all.
I don't know anyone in person who's absolutely perfect. I just say, love my friends and family, a present company accepted, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just not real. And I think that the importance of being real, especially when you're maybe providing a service, that's how you gain that connection online without actually having that conversation with those people. Then, this could be a local business. You could be a local business owner, and then you could be at a networking event, and then they come over to you and they're like, oh my God, I've seen your stuff. And they feel totally comfortable talking to you about it. Or you've been sharing what you've been up to. And it could be like inane stuff. And maybe not even about work, but they'll feel comfortable like, oh my God, when you told me that story about the postman and how you accidentally wished him happy birthday instead of saying thank you, I've done that so many times. And then you've immediately broken down so many barriers that would be there if you had a formal, hello, my name's Sophie, hello, my name's Andrew, what do you do? Like you've surpassed all of that. And that means that you're building that level of rapport and trust outside of having to do the real hard sell of what you do. So that conversation, they're much more likely to share their vulnerabilities to you as well. Like if you want someone to share their vulnerabilities, you have to be vulnerable first, and you need to be able to share that safe space. So someone, for me, is like, oh, I'm really struggling with showing up on social media. I love how you do it. I'm very laissez-faire about it because I'm very comfortable about it, but they need a beacon to be able to be like, oh, they're comfortable doing it, it's clearly working for them. They'll either have a very real and honest conversation with me about me and my problems, or they clearly know what they're doing, which I like to think both. of those things will happen if they're talking to me, but maybe not.
But a lot, I think it's really interesting. A lot of people are still very reluctant to actually put their face out there.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot on LinkedIn. You know, even people with kind of quite large following numbers. It doesn't mean obviously their interaction's good.
No.
But it will just be pictures of sunsets or footsteps in sand,
Yes.
or all of the stock stuff that you mentioned at the beginning. Why do you think people are so reluctant to put their faces on?
I think it could be a generational thing. There is that. I think, you know, there are going to be certain business owners that grew their business where maybe when that personal branding piece wasn't so like at the forefront of business, but there was personal branding. Everyone's personal brand was that they were very professional and very polite and very efficient. You know, and that's, but at the same time, they were probably building their businesses on fax machines and telephone calls and not necessarily emails.
Not as many touch points, was there?
No, exactly. And, you know, whilst, you know, they're not putting pictures up of their faces online, they were definitely picking up the phone, which people don't do so much anymore. I love a telephone call. I love a voice note and a telephone call because they're both so much more personal and you can get that message across. And as a result, I also like video. You know, some people just are like, oh, I don't like my eyebrows. I've had that one before. I'm like, you know, show your face on your brow. Oh, wait until my eyebrows have been done. I'm like, no one cares what your eyebrows look like. This is the brutal
truth. I mean, I started. I've always made videos, and then anyone who's watching this rather than listening to it, I'm missing a front tooth. And when that happened, for one thing, I had to learn how to talk again, which was odd. But I thought, no, I'm not going to retire away and stop making videos. Where I thought, if anything, people are probably more likely to remember. But I can speak from personal experience. That wasn't an easy decision.
No.
Just to go, okay, I think I look weird now. No one cares.
No. And if anything, it's a talking piece, right?
Yeah. A lot of people ask me how it happened, and I've just started saying Borstal, which is I don't know if I'll say that's a lie or not. I might just let that little bit of mystique creep out into the world.
Don't give away your secrets. But it's an identifier, right? Once I remember someone said to me, "Oh, I was starting in music. Oh, I must have been 20." And he said, never, ever, 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 ever change your hair because you've got big blonde curly hair and everyone will recognise you for it and that will be your signifier. Now, I don't want to give him too much credit, but I am too lazy to change my hairstyle. So that's never really happened. But you do kind of get identified by your physical traits as well, right?
And it's really strange how if you do change something about yourself, people will then go, oh, I love that. Like on this video at the moment, I'm got fairly short hair, but winter's coming, so I always grow it big to keep my head warm.
Yes.
And each spring when I then cut it short, the most unlikely people would say, oh, why have you cut your hair off? I was like, wow, I didn't know you'd noticed.
Yeah, well, people will have a meltdown if I straighten my hair.
Have you ever done it? So we're going massively off piece.
Oh no, but like, you know, your personal presentation is part of your brand, and it is part of your personal brand. Like, no one looks like you, so it is important. It is relevant. But yeah, people will have a meltdown if I straighten my hair. That's not forever, is it?
Have you done it?
Yeah.
I did it. I looked like Kurt Cobain had let himself go in a really big way.
Oh, and that's sad because Kurt Cobain is beautiful as well. So and he never got there, did he? So
sadly not. So
no.
Number one, I'm going to have to keep bringing this back to the thing. Anyone watching or listening to this, you may guess that, well, actually, like a lot of guests we have here on the Business Amplify podcast, Sophie and I do know each other.
But also, I would say maybe one of my personal brand identifiers is that I talk a lot. So.
Okay, we're in good company. So reason number one.
Approachability,
brilliant. Let's move on to reason number 2. Do you want to see the cheat sheet?
I would absolutely love to see the cheat sheet.
There you go.
Authenticity.
Oh, well done for being able to read my writing as well there.
No. My writing is equally as, you know, all over the place. I do say that if a graphologist was to look at my handwriting, they would have no idea who was behind it because it changes every
graphologist,
sentence.
That's the Gruffalo expert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they've got purple spikes up their back.
Authenticity, so approachability. So it's people feeling, number one was, just to summarise, was people feeling comfortable to approach you.
Yeah.
Basically, again. Okay, well, that person is an actual human being.
Yes.
So number 2, authenticity. So how could you do that badly? Let's start with the fun way of that.
How could you do that badly? I think people are very concerned about what they can talk about online, and therefore they self-censor, which is fine. But that's definitely down to people thinking what they should be putting forward, not what is genuinely authentic to them. I've got no problem, for example, turning up with no makeup on, hair on my head, and being like, my insomnia's kicked in. Like, that authenticity piece, I think, then allows, again, an opportunity for conversation for people to actually genuinely build up that connection. So you're getting these, messages in, and they're also the people that you're having a conversation with off platform. They're the people that will also be you'll be getting the recommendations from. They're the people that will be going, oh, I know a marketing person, I know an SEO person, I know a copywriter, and it's nothing really to do with the fact that you've spoken to them about marketing. It's because there's a genuine reason that they decide to reach out, and again it's that approachability piece. But if someone thinks that you're fake, or you're putting something on, or you're not being truly yourself, or you're just always cheesy and smiley the whole time and so positive, everyone knows that that's not real as well. And a lot of people will come to me and say, I'm not comfortable with sharing that. And that's fine. You don't have to share everything.
That becomes part of your authenticity, though, doesn't it? The things that you're not comfortable
No,
to
there
share.
are things that I don't talk about online. I don't talk about my partner. I rarely talk about my kids. I talk about my kids more than I talk about my partner, but I need to keep things for me. And so you can curate what you're talking about, but as long as you're talking about the things authentically, then it's really no one's business. And, if you're sharing, half an hour of your day, you are sharing the highlights, but you can share the lowlights. The low pieces really build that connection and build that trust. And the more people see that you're brave enough to share that, that connection's built.
Absolutely, and you've hit on something that I think is really important. So the authenticity, just kind of with the being open about the bad stuff. I do worry sometimes. I see some people, especially on LinkedIn, where that becomes their core message, and it may well be, if that's genuine and that's absolutely what they're going through consistently over a really long period of time, then that authenticity is incredible. But it does concern me sometimes to see things and I think, you're talking a lot of down stuff.
Yeah.
But then that's entirely on me, because that's me making a judgment, which I shouldn't, but it's really hard not to, because this is how we all interact with each other. But if that's completely genuine, then brilliant, because I always think any decision any of us make, we're always at one end of a scale. So at that point, if I'm at one end of a scale saying that person does seem to be conjuring a lot of negativity, there'll be someone at the other end of the scale always who absolutely identifies with that and sees it as entirely authentic. I'm really telling myself off here, I think.
But also, we've all seen people that are like, I am fine, I am so fine, I am the most fine thing ever, and they're not fine.
I always think that meme, this is fine,
with
all the fire everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And they're damaging themselves because they're not being authentic. They're just being like, oh, everything is totally fine. And it kind of just isolates them. And I think actually, even as the person that's creating that content, that you might want to say, I'm struggling, because there's nothing more isolating than everyone thinking that you're having the best time. And actually you're not, because really you don't want to shatter that illusion to them as well. But, on the same scale of your authenticity, say you're vegan and a leather goods company wants to talk to you, and you can be like, no, it can attract and repel the people that you do and don't want to work with, and that authentic vibe will then attract your tribe, as much as I wanted to avoid saying that. But
I think you've raised another very good point. I've had some inquiries for some types of companies I would never work with. And at the time I was thinking, why on earth did these people think I'd want to be involved with what they do? Nothing like sketchy, but like hunting. Hunting, I nearly swore then. I personally see no place for blood sports in the world at all. Clearly, some people do. So I was approached by a company like that, and I just thought, why on earth would you think I would be okay with that? But maybe I haven't been expressing my opinions.
But also, imagine if you were outwardly expressing your opinions and you had accepted that work, and then it came out because, they've done a testimonial. That inauthenticity is going to do so much damage to your brand, because people are going to be like, well, you said you don't like that.
So is it easier just to wind your neck in and just not peek your head above the parapet? Is it?
Yeah, blend in if you want, sure.
Blend in, and then you'll be in the beigeness with everybody else.
Yeah, well, I always say your USP is you. Like, no one does things the way that you do. Like, people don't connect in the way that you do. And the more real and authentic that you can be in that client relationship, you're going to be able to have better conversations. If the performance isn't working the way that it wants it to, if they're not happy, if you're not happy, it's all down to that authenticity piece.
So I think the nice thing about authenticity, as point number 2, just remembering we're supposed to have 3 points, the nice thing about authenticity is, I think it's easier to be authentic because it's what you really are. Surely it's a lot more work to kind of portray as something else.
Yeah, and it ultimately just kills your soul. Like, I used to get so stressed about turning up in places being a certain way. And that's even down to just having curly hair and just perpetually looking scruffy. And I'm like, I should look this way. And I should be wearing blazer, and I should be wearing heels or something. I should be looking like a professional. And I'm like, oh, do you know what? I don't want to. I want to wear sweatshirts, and I want to wear trainers. And if you don't want to work with me, then that's not my problem. That's your problem based on how you think I should be dressed in this setting. But that was me suddenly realizing that I had to be authentic to myself. And actually, do I even want to be working with these businesses that demand that I wear a pencil skirt and heels and a blazer? No, I don't. So can we stop trying to force this square peg into a round hole and just realize about, it's not even just about outward authenticity. It's like, I want to work. It's also down into like how you want to work and what you want to work in. That has to be an inward piece as well, and making sure that you're aligning with the people that get on with you at your most authentic self in the industries that align with you at your most authentic self. So it's not necessarily just an outward thing, it's also an inward thing. But then obviously you're aligning with brands that align with your personal brand. It might be like Sophie wants to work in entertainment because she looks like, and then all of a sudden that, I look like someone that would want to work in entertainment, and vice versa. And then I'm attracting those sorts of people. It's exactly the same if you wanted to niche into, I don't know, cricket, and you just wear cricket whites.
That would be memorable. That would certainly be memorable, wouldn't it? Go. Okay, so we've had number 1. This is 3 reasons your business will fail, although we're just doing that for clickbait. Yeah. I'll be honest about that. So number 1 was approachability. Number 2 was authenticity. Number 3...
memorability and trust.
You remember memorability?
Well...
memorability.
Memorability. I did a brand presentation the other day, and when you're writing stuff, you're like, oh, this is like, wow, sounds so smart. Will you remember?
I'm using the smart words.
Neurodiversity. And I've realised that I cannot say neurodiversity amongst lots of other long and complex words. And I sat there and I fumbled over it so many times that I made a mental note to simplify your goddamn language in a brand presentation, because you're going to have to read this out, Sophie, and you look like a plonker.
I think the simplification thing, a topic for another time, but the simplification thing is a drum I've been beating for years.
Yeah.
When I first learnt to, I'm quite open about the fact I didn't do anything at school. I got no GCSEs or anything. So when I decided I was going to pursue being a writer, I had to teach myself how to write. And the first and most important thing I learned was get rid of the long words. Just because a lot of people still think they sound smart if they use long words. And if you've got any opportunity to simplify them, but then this is just my brand.
No, down to authenticity. I do have a personal thing where I feel like the longer and more varied a vocabulary is when you're talking to someone, they are just trying to distract you. They are not smart.
Wow.
They're just trying to distract you into making them think that they're smart.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You've been writing that don't do it either.
No.
Yeah, it's that kind of. So we're going wildly off topic here, but I don't know if we are really, because this comes down to trust.
Yeah.
If someone's using that kind of nutty vocabulary, then they're going to put a dent in the trust.
Yeah, I feel like that you're trying to make me feel stupid. And also, you're in sentence 3 and I'm still working out what you've said in sentence 1. Like, I've also just I'm not listening to you. I don't understand what you've just said. You've abbreviated something. What did you just say? You know, there's all of these things. You're like, what?
I don't know. It's because I'm used to sitting here recording with, people listening and people watching. This is the first in-person recording we've done for the Business Amplify podcast. But I do another podcast called SEO or Die with dear friend Dan Callis, which is about the sweariest podcast around SEO possible. So I'm used to Dan sitting there, and my brain keeps wanting to just. I'm not being inauthentic by not swearing. I think there's a
time and place for it, and I am definitely a swearer. But I do feel when you put a microphone in front of someone, and you know, telephone voice comes out. Doesn't it?
Telephone voice.
Telephone voice. So memorability. Again, it's about building that connection. It's all from the authenticity and the approachability. You've created a conversation that's building around that community. People are going to be like, oh my God, I had this ridiculous conversation with someone about XYZ, and it was really fun because they were really funny and approachable and authentic, and they're really going to stick with me over this really bland white and blue advert that I saw. You know, it is, and they really resonated with what I said versus this person that doesn't gel with me. It really, building that connection really builds the rememberability or memorability.
I think I might have invented a word there, rememberability.
It really builds that place in their brain for you, that special place in their brain for you where they go, God, I really need that marketing person based on the conversation about biscuits that we had the other day.
There you go. I think that's all nicely summarised. And I think if you take point 1, approachability, and point 3, memorability,
yeah,
I think you've summarised that absolutely brilliantly. If you're going to run a business, make sure people can approach you, make sure people remember you. There you go. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
So, thank you to Sophie Robinson from Moody Marketing. That was a lot of fun to record. I hope you had as much fun watching and listening to it as we did actually recording it, because that was cool. Right then, 3 reasons your personal branding is super, super important. It's what makes you approachable. It's what gives your brand and yourself authenticity. And it makes you memorable, or rememberable, as we used to say. As we said in the recording, rather. And it builds trust. 3 really important things there. Hope you enjoyed listening and watching to this. Please like, subscribe, and tell your mum.